It all happens in a matter of seconds, and honestly, it's overwhelming. You're attempting to keep track of all the moving parts, the positioning of your teammates, the movement of your enemies, the knowledge of who you're up against and what they're capable of. You're analyzing it all, looking for an opening, an opportunity. And all of this information is swirling around in your mind as you consider what to do next. What actions are possible? What outcomes are likely? But the pressure is building and it's time to make a decision. But be careful here, because with the right decision, you'll be able to outthink your enemy. You'll turn the tide for your team and be praised for making a pivotal move towards victory. But with the wrong choice, you'll give the enemy exactly what they need. They'll take advantage of your mistake, make you look incompetent, and then steamroll your team. Now take a moment to step back from the situation I just described and consider what game I'm talking about. Is it League of Legends? Is it Counter-Strike? Is it Apex Legends? Or am I describing something that's completely different? Perhaps it's a quarterback's time pressure decision at the Super Bowl, or a hockey player skating down the ice in the final moments of a pivotal game. And yes, I'm Canadian, hence the hockey example, but no matter the game or context, the kind of situation is universal. Being put in a position where you're under pressure, forced to analyze all the key factors around you, combining tons of information to predict the best method of action. And with the right decision, you'll advance towards the goal. But with the wrong decision, everything that you've worked for will crumble before you. And what sets apart the most elite players in any domain is their ability to process more of this information, to literally be aware of more elements in the environment, understand all the possible interactions and potential outcomes, and as a result, make the most effective decisions that lead to victory. And this is the superpower of professional athletes and genius pro gamers. So, how do you gain this elite ability? Well, in esports, the professional players that you admire most consistently use a key strategy to develop it, a habit that's often overlooked yet allows them to develop this elite skill. So, what is it? During a match, your mind is constantly absorbing tons of information, mentally going through each possible decision and outcome, and then calculating the best possible action. And how well you're able to do this is based on the amount of patterns you've learned. And these patterns are essentially just the relationship between causes and effects while specific elements are present. And through experience in the game, you learn to recognize these different elements, how they interact with each other, and how your actions lead to certain results. And eventually, through trial and error, you develop a sort of mental library with hundreds or even thousands of these unique patterns. And the more patterns you add to this mental library, the more information you can call back on when making decisions. And of course, what sets pro players apart from average players is their ability to see more patterns, to process more information, all as a result of having larger mental libraries. But your ability to learn these new patterns and grow as a player is extremely limited by the short-term limitations of your mind. Because during any typical game, everything is just happening too quickly for your mind to absorb and make sense of all the information. It fails to form cohesive patterns, and as a result, you miss tons of opportunities to enhance your processing speed and become a smarter player. But professionals in other domains already know this, and they've figured out ways of overcoming this limitation. For example, when looking into what it takes to become a grandmaster chess player, research shows that the amount of time spent analyzing games and not actually playing them is the single greatest predictor of a chess player's ability. And this means that these players can spend thousands of hours in actual games, yet those hours would be more conducive for success if they had spent them studying games. And this means studying matches by analyzing the positions, breaking down every decision, and understanding the thought process behind every move. Similarly, the most successful football quarterbacks are generally the ones who spend the most time in the film room, watching and analyzing the plays of their own team and their opponents. By doing this, they learn to see new patterns from a different perspective, and they learn to make better decisions based on those patterns. As a perfect example, the 6-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady has mentioned in interviews that he watches back over his games rigorously, sometimes watching the offensive plays multiple times over to really understand the nuances of each play. And the reason this matters so much is because when these chess and football players study a match, they are programming their mind to recognize new patterns at a pace that's actually effective for learning. And as a result, they train their brain to see new opportunities, to read unique plays all in a matter of seconds, which is key in situations where just a few seconds can either lead to success or complete disaster. So if you want to develop mental patterns, absorb more details from your games, learn to make better decisions, and discover missed opportunities, then the key is to learn by reviewing your matches, the same way that football quarterbacks and chess masters do. And I imagine that if you've ever watched YouTube videos from your favorite pro teams or any esports documentaries, you've likely seen footage of pro players doing this sort of review. And perhaps you've even considered trying it yourself. But chances are, when you first saw it happening or first heard about it, it just seemed like a lot of extra efforts, and it made you question how important it actually is.
I have like over 10,000 hours in CSGO, and out of those 10,000 hours, I think 3,000 or 4,000 was reviewing demos. Like I reviewed so many demos.
This is Vince, more commonly known as Noted. And if you're a Rainbow Six player, then you've likely stumbled upon his YouTube channel in the past. But beyond the channel, Noted is an esports player who's played competitively in PUBG, CSGO, and Rainbow Six for teams Trifecta, GFX, and Pain Gaming. And he's had his fair share of experience in the competitive realm, and as a result, he's invested a lot of time into watching replays, or as he says, demos. And he agrees that this tactic is extremely important.
Dude, there's nothing that can improve yourself more than this, especially if you want to become a pro. Each time that you watch this, bro, you're going to see a new thing. And each new little detail can give you an edge when you're playing a final or competitive match. So that's why it's so important for you to watch.
Alright, so we now know that watching your replays or demos can be important. But what exactly should you be looking for when you're watching? Well, this is the kind of question that I asked Noted, and he shed some light on a few major things to watch for. But we both agreed on one critical prerequisite. So before you dive into a fresh replay or demo, you need to address the biggest potential obstacle, your own ego. Because it's easy to look past our own mistakes and place blame on the other factors within the game, but doing this will only prevent you from learning.
And one of the things on esports and to become a better player and to become like a real professional player is to ignore the ego. Like, let the ego aside. If Fallen told me to hold that angle and I did it wrong and I died, I should think with myself, why did I die? You know, what was the reason for it, instead blaming him? That's how like big athletes become better. If you see LeBron James, Roger Federer, Tiger Woods, all of them, they learn with their mistakes.
So this is the necessary first step, learning from and embracing your mistakes, taking ownership of your shortcomings and releasing your ego. And this means taking ownership of losses and bad plays, even if at a first glance it doesn't appear to be your fault. Because once you've disconnected from your ego and taken extreme amounts of ownership, you'll be able to see more opportunities for growth, and as a result, you'll begin to develop your pattern recognition much faster. And from here, you can begin to analyze each major play, looking for key moments when things went right or when things went wrong. But of course, when analyzing these plays, there will be a lot of things that you could pay attention to, and each game will be quite different. But there are some universal things that are important to watch for, including your level of aggression.
If I'm being over aggressive like one time, and at the second time again, and I noticed, and at the third time I noticed again my over aggression and I die anyways in the third time, that means I'm just ignorant, So you gotta pay attention to those little details. For example, in there's a map called Clubhouse in Rainbow Six. I see myself being over aggressive a lot in the stairs, for example, and I stopped going to the stairs and I stopped dying in the beginning of the runs.
So watching for levels of over aggression is important, but your level of aggression is a balance, and being under aggressive can be just as detrimental.
I'm not gonna say any names, but I had teammates that made me really mad back in the days. Because they were like so under aggressive that they used to hold one angle for 3 minutes, and after that they used to be alive and like 0 kills, 0 deaths, but they used to be there like a little pole that you put there. So this is being super under aggressive.
So your level of aggression often comes through in your positioning and vulnerability, rushing to, say, a specific spot too quickly or holding a single position for too long. And as noted later mentioned in our conversation, knowing the right time to be aggressive and the right time to be passive is key. And this timing is dependent on your personal playstyle, your skill level, and the types of enemies that you're typically up against. So pay attention to your level of aggression in your reviews. When are you being over-aggressive and slipping up due to overconfidence? But also, when are you being too passive and missing major opportunities where you could have been assertive and succeeded? Now, the next thing to watch for is your mechanical skills. Now, don't get too stuck on this and blame mechanics for every failure, but notice when there's an obvious flaw in your skill execution or a bad habit that you need to correct. Then, once you've identified that bad habit or poor mechanic, create an exercise that you can use to work on that skill over and over until you've corrected it. And Noted himself is heavily engaged in aim training and similar exercises to boost FPS mechanics. He set an impressive record in the CSGO workshop, and he's currently on a mission to reach the top of the leaderboard in Kovac's aim trainer. And when chatting with him, he stressed the importance of these sort of mini games or drills to hone specific mechanics. But depending on the game you play, you might have to get creative with it. For example, Noted even brought up the notorious video of Faker playing I Want to Be the Boshi in order to train his dodge mechanics. And in past interviews, Noted has even mentioned of some people learning to juggle in order to train their peripheral vision. So when you're in a game, pay attention to any major mechanical error and make it your priority to create some sort of creative drill or exercise where you can train that key skill. But perhaps the most important thing to watch for is your decision making. Breaking down specific plays to figure out why you made a certain choice, what factors contributed to the outcome, what factors you were aware of, and what factors you missed.
If I rush that like crazy without flashing, without smoking or anything, and as soon as the round starts, if I rush like this and I die, I will try to understand all the rotations and all the spawns that each player was in the map. I'll try to understand why did I die at the time that I died in the timer of the game. What should I do to flash the guy at the same time that he's coming out of the respawn? That way I could get an advantage and get there before him. So all this stuff you learn with your own mistakes, and a lot of players, they don't do it, and that's why they don't evolve.
Now the key to getting the most from this is to break down your thought process in that moment, considering what exactly you need to do differently and how you need to think differently in future scenarios and why. And so by learning to recognize these combinations of in-game factors and how to make better decisions based on them, you'll slowly add new patterns to your mental library and unlock the decision-making skills that makes elite players so good. But Noted also brought up an important idea, which is to not only review your own replays, but to watch the plays of pro players so that you can compare and contrast them to your own. Perhaps compare a single match from your favorite pro player playing on the exact same map or with the exact same character, and attempt to understand their decision making in contrast with your own.
Go watch someone that plays extremely well and try to calculate their moves and try to get their experience. Like in Rainbow Six is very, if you watch someone that plays really good playing like a tournament or whatever, you're gonna understand angles, you're gonna learn new stuff. So that's pretty much what it needed, but few people are willing to do it.
So add this all to your protocol for improvement. Create a checklist of things to watch for when reviewing your games. And now, depending on the game, there will be many different game-specific things that you need to analyze, whether that's pre-aiming certain spots or warding certain areas of the map. But regardless of the game, consider adding these steps of consciously addressing your ego, watching for level of aggression, being aware of mechanical errors, breaking down decision-making, and comparing your own replays to that of pro players. And as a bonus tip, if you want to absorb these patterns even faster, I suggest combining the lessons from this video with the lessons from a recent video we did on game sense and learning twice as fast. So by nature of how your brain works, the more you study a pattern, recall it, and come across it, the easier and faster it'll be for your mind to process it. Soon enough, you'll have an enhanced awareness of opportunities in every game. You'll be able to process information much faster, and you'll be making more intelligent decisions. But I'll be honest with you, this is not a tactic that's exactly fun to implement. It can be quite boring and mentally taxing to spend hours reviewing matches or searching for subtle lessons or patterns to learn from. It's much easier to just sit back and play the game, but if you have any aspiration to become a pro player, then this tactic is something you must do.
If you see like Code Zero, he's like the best in the world in CSGO. Like this guy watches more demos than anyone. Like him and following and there's a reason because he's the best, because he's willing to do what no one else wants to do, which is sitting in a chair for like 10 hours and watching people playing. Some people go watch Twitch because it's like funny, you know. Instead of watching Twitch, if you want to become a pro, go watch demos. If you don't, it's pretty simple. If you don't do it, you're not going to become a professional player.
Hey guys, I hope you got a ton of value from this video, and if you did, then let me know in the comments what you think about this topic. And if you want to check out some truly godlike aiming, then check out Noted's channel, where he's currently posting tons of great content on Rainbow Six and Apex Legends. And if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link for it in the description down below. And if you weren't aware yet, we have a fairly new Discord server for all of the eAthlete Labs superfans. So if you want to join the community, then check that out using the link in the description. And of course, this video is brought to you by our very own esports supplements, eAdvantage. Now, eAdvantage is designed to help you get better in-game results and help you to improve your skills faster, and it does this by giving you a focus and energy boost, one beyond any sort of typical energy drink, and of course it does so in a much healthier way. It essentially combines beneficial ingredients that you might find in an energy drink, but adds even better brain-boosting ingredients to it, and then packs it all into a small capsule. As a result, you get a huge focus boost and even a memory boost in a much healthier and even cheaper way. And there are tons of eAthlete Labs fans that have been using eAdvantage, and we've been getting amazing feedback from it. One fan even sent in an email mentioning that he was able to climb 3 ranks in 2 weeks, nearly double his accuracy, and start getting 29.63% more kills due to eAdvantage. So if you want to give it a try and see how much it helps you improve, then use the code eAthlete13 to get 13.5% off your entire order. The link for eAdvantage as well as this code will be in the description down below. But if supplements are not your thing and you still want to help support the channel, then grab yourself some eAthlete merch. You can now get a custom esports jersey, a mouse pad, or even a hoodie so you can start repping eAthlete. And every single merch sale really does help us out. It helps us allocate more time and resources to every single video. So not only will you look great with the merch, but it really does help us out. And the link for the merch store as well as a discount code will also be in the description down below. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.